hear it for about 5 seconds before YouTube ever knows that this happened. But I've stalled long enough, so the timer is probably there. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show, Friday, January 24th, presented by SuperDraft. Myself, Josh Engelman, the guy below me, the guy that is currently putting a beating on me in our Sixers bet.
They stink, man.
Dave Loughran. Dude, remember when we went through the schedule and we were like,
yeah,
oh, this one's pretty soft. It's not soft anymore.
Well, yeah, and one of the things is like when you can't beat teams like the Magic, it doesn't matter how soft it is. But it's kind of interesting when you look at the Orlando Magic, they don't have a ton of wins. They're never big dogs. No. You ever notice that? Like they're solid. I think today
they're well coached.
They are. Today, they're actually favored. They're 1-point dogs against the Celtics. So, that could mean that guys like Tatum and Brown might be out, but you see this pretty frequently. They're never big dogs in these spots because they play pretty competitive basketball and they're a good defensive team. But yeah, listen, the other day I tweeted this, damn Zion, OMG Zion, boy Zion, whatever that means. And then another Zion when he scored 17 points in like 4 minutes, all of them were trending. And then trending right below them, hashtag fire Brett Brown. Even you have to see that this guy is just an absurdity and it does nobody any good keeping him around. He ran out in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, for several minutes, he had a lineup on the floor that didn't have a single one of his starters, all bench. Raul Neto, Norvel Pell, the whole Korkmaz didn't start. Like that's terrible, man. Terrible.
How much better would they be if they traded Joel Embiid?
What's that?
How much better would they be if they traded Joel Embiid?
Okay, just stop. I can't even have conversations with you because you're so far off base with the Sixers.
I mean, just they might look a little bit better. All I'm saying.
They've been losing with him off the court too.
I know, but think about what you would get back. Get some shooting, fit around Ben Simmons. Ooh, boy. Al Horford at the 5. Sign me up.
Apparently stop it. That's insane. Apparently they're interested in Derrick Rose, which I'm a huge Derrick Rose fan, but the guy is not a sharpshooter either. Like he even said, they're giving me the rim. They're giving me the basket. So I'm just driving to the rim every time. He doesn't
Wait,
really
he's not a good shooter? But everybody told me last year when I said that he wasn't a good shooter that because he was 38% in the first 2 months for Minnesota, that was just like the new normal. Oh, wow. I didn't know.
I think he's shooting like 33% from three. But I'm saying that's not his specialty. Like you don't need 3-point shooting and bring on a guy that is, okay at 3-point shooting. You'd want to bring in a guy that, he's 31%. He's 30% from three for his career.
Yeah, not a shooter. Closing 3 road games for the Sixers, which we thought were gimmies when we made this bet.
Let's hear it.
Grizzlies.
Oh, in Memphis. Yeah, well, they're all road games. Sorry.
Yes. In Memphis, oddly enough, for these road bets. Not telling you home games right now. Not super useful. Pelicans. Not great now. Spurs playing better basketball now than they have been the entire season.
You're cooked, bro.
It's not great, dude. It's seriously not great. I'm gonna look so stupid for baseball season.
But you will do this, right? Like you're a man of your word.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay. Now, how does Katie feel? I know you told her.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't care. Her only concern was that I could not look like a complete idiot for her best friend's wedding in May, which I think is a reasonable stance to take.
And she told you not to go within 300 yards of any schools, correct?
Yes, which is difficult. I have to take a different route back to the main street because the other way is clean past an elementary school.
It just reminds me, remember, was it Dennis the Menace, where the guy's got like the old school stick with the bag and he's carving out the apple while he watches him play? Have you never seen Dennis the Menace? Like the The one.
I
From
mean,
when
I
we
saw
were
one, and I think they eat beans in a can near underneath a bridge. That's the best.
Yeah,
I can
that's
do.
him. I'm pretty sure that's him. Yeah. Yeah.
No, dude, I haven't caught it in a while.
Oh, I remember. Really? Like I think I watched Home Alone right over the holiday season.
Also, didn't watch that.
Wow, really?
Not a big Home Alone
guy?
fan. No.
Home Alone 3 is the best one I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that.
I haven't. Look, the Coke wasn't in it. You know why watch it? I've said many times
Culkin or something.
The best Christmas movie, best family-friendly Christmas movie is Bad Santa.
Of course.
It's just phenomenal. But yeah, you remind me of the vagrant from Home Alone. So we're gonna have to get you going here. I'm not now, not in your current form, but once that's shaved off, I'm gonna end up losing this. Right? They're gonna end up going on like a 10-game road win streak, and I'll end up losing it, and then be saying the same exact thing about myself.
So back in the day when I was first born, probably for the first, 7-8 years of my life, my dad had a mustache. Eventually transitioned to the goatee and the beard from time to time.
By the way, all of our dads had mustaches in that time, like in the early 90s, late 80s, no question.
For sure. Yeah, very popular, right? Lip garment.
You're 34, 35?
I will be 35 in like 2 weeks.
Okay, and I'll be 33 in March. Every picture, Justine's dad is all of them. They all had the stash.
So I'm getting somewhere here. So my dad at that time bared a striking resemblance to Tom Selleck.
Okay.
Yes. I'm hoping that when I shave, that somehow I look like a young Tom Selleck.
You wanted to bring out the Selleck in you.
Yeah, I don't think that I have a feeling that I'm going to look a lot more like a drugged out Tom Sizemore.
Yeah, a meth addicted Brent Selleck.
Yeah, there you go. It's not going to be great. Not going to be great. But that's not important. What is important? Playing DFS on a site without salaries. So you can roster anybody you want.
How does that work, Josh?
You go to superdraft.io. They are the presenting sponsor of this show and of quite a bit of stuff that we're doing now. And we've talked about
download the app too.
You can download the app. There are no limits and just more winning. You beat me to the end of my read.
My fault.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's not like I wing this one because I really do like the product and it.
I know.
I don't. So I sent you my updated model workbook yesterday. I did add SuperDraft into the model.
I wish I could play.
Slowly working. Yeah. Well,
soon enough.
That's
right?
why I moved from Pennsylvania to play SuperDraft.
Why can't I play though? You think about it. It's like I couldn't play Thrive either. But Thrive? I get right because that was like prop betting and stuff. Yeah. Basically.
I mean, there wasn't sports betting at that time in Pennsylvania, correct?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. But with SuperDraft, it's way closer to DFS than it is, anything else. So I don't know. I still don't get that, but I really wanted to, and they've been running bigger contests too.
Yeah. So instead of salaries, you get a multiplier. So your studs, your Luka Doncic, your James Harden, they're going to be at 1x.
Your Goran Dragic.
I deserve that. But you could also get guys at like 1.4, 1.5. So if they pop a 40 or a 50-point fantasy game at 1.4x, they become essential to your lineup. But it allows you to roster anybody you want. They have contests for the NBA, NFL, obviously winding down, baseball coming up soon. Anxious to see how that works. Golf. They're building it up, and I love it. And the contest, their top contest each day, looking pretty tasty. Let's see right now what we have for today. Want to make sure that I quote it correctly. They're doing the 10,000 guaranteed jump shot, 1250 to first, taking in 1,000 entries. On Wednesday, they had one for like 1,900. They came just shy of filling. I want to say like they missed it by like 10 or 20 people. So
I'm pretty sure they filled Tuesday or Tuesdays.
Nice.
Or was it Monday? No, Martin Luther King Day. I'm pretty sure they filled that.
Awesome. I love seeing it fill. I mean, that's better for everybody. That'll increase contest sizes. But yeah, 1250 to first, 850 to second. Top 10 gets you 100. It's a $12 entry fee, so it's not even like a crazy payout structure. Just perfect. I really recommend you guys check it out. Go to superdraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit. Now I'm being told that I need to get a vintage 308 Ferrari while I have the stash. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up a Ferrari while I have a mustache.
If that's the case, I'll lose the bet.
Yeah. If I had the ability to go out and buy a Ferrari while I had a mustache, you would never know who I was.
Yeah.
I would have
You'd
never
walk
done
in
it.
and you'd walk into the dealership and you're here for a Ferrari, aren't you? You could just tell, you know, all you need is that stash and they know you're a Ferrari guy.
I would have never been making DFS videos before my day job if if I had Ferrari money.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine you'd be making bets to shave your face and leave a mustache.
Oh, I'd still be making those bets. It just wouldn't have been
not on camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wouldn't. No one would have ever known. I got yesterday's lineup study pulled up. Congrats to Brick and his three burners that played a bunch of different amounts of lineups. Chopped first place on the 3-gamer in the shot. Took down 3,600.
Nice.
Just kidding. They're not Brick's burners. It's 3-game slate. You're gonna have some overlap. Lot of 150 maxers at the top of the $7 last night on FanDuel. I mean, it's basically every familiar name you can see. McLovin. There's Tom J.K. Got everybody. Highest owned player, Bradley Beal at 73.7.
As he should have been.
Yep. And 6.3x. That'll work. No regrets there. Jared Allen, major letdown.
You know who was a major letdown?
Jared Allen.
Oh, horrible. Yeah. You know who, though? I mentioned this when I wrote the deep dive. I posted it in our premium Slack chat, and I said, listen, before you ask, it sickens me to recommend Colin Sexton as much as you guys. But, dude, for the first time, Colin Sexton came through for us, man. And I was very happy with those results.
He played really well. I had a bunch of him, particularly on Yahoo, which ultimately was meaningless. Had him on DraftKings too, also ultimately meaningless. Was looking good at the midway point. I had some bullets, and then I apparently turned those bullets on myself. didn't go well. Highest scorer of the slate last night, Damian Lillard, dropping bombs last night on Dallas. Highest value play of the day. We didn't have anybody get over 10x. Do you know who the highest valued play of the day was on FanDuel?
Was it a popular play?
No, it was not. Well, it wasn't unpopular on FanDuel, but he was certainly not popular on DraftKings.
It's tough because most of the guys, like the legitimate, wasn't Chetty, was it?
I wish it was Chetty. The answer would be same team, Larry Nance.
Oh, that's right. Actually, Chetty fell apart towards the end. He started off really well. I forgot. I didn't have like any Chetty Osman, so I just looked at what we got from him now. Yeah, Lance 22, 12, and 3.
Yeah.
How about that? Thompson only 21 minutes.
Yeah. Larry Nance dropped a 40.9 burger. He was 13% owned on FanDuel, but he was only 4,200, and on a 3-gamer, like, you could see the path.
That's a pretty fortuitous bounce in terms of, getting him in there for 28 and a half minutes and 21 minutes for Thompson. Yeah. I mean, hey, no problem with it, but
it was really hard to project him for 28 minutes in that game. I had him at 20. I would have had him.
McKinney re-signed another 10-day and he played 18 minutes. And Henson was back.
Didn't expect that one at all. Trevor Ariza, second highest value. The only two guys to go over 9x. Ariza, 4,100. Went for 37.4 fantasy points in his Blazers debut. Played 36 minutes because obviously should have expected him to play 36. I put him in for like 30 or 32. I was like, okay, they're not just going to let him rip. Yeah, they just let him rip.
Yeah, it was nice to see that for sure. Anthony Davis, a colossal disappointment if you tried to get him at low ownership. Jared Allen, brutal. Kyrie Irving, very disappointing. I had him over 2.5 threes though, so that helped. But yeah, a lot of these guys, LeBron triple doubled, and there were some guys that you would expect to perform well that did. By the way, Chris Randone, I got Chris Randone tweeted yesterday that, and I want your opinion on this, okay? Because maybe I've missed it. Chris Rendon tweets that it's amazing what LeBron in his 17th year is doing. I agree with you, Chris. But this part threw me off a bit. He said, it's amazing what he's doing in 17th year, and people keep saying he's trash. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that Chris meant washed, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone call him trash. Is there a sector of Twitter? Is there a part of Twitter that is out there like nobody respectable, right? That's called can't be.
No, that's ludicrous. Even if you said, like, you can't even say that he was washed. He was incredible before he got injured last year.
For sure. But I'm saying if people were trying to say he was washed, I would get not where they're coming from or why they're saying it, but it would be believable.
I mean, I would just not go to Twitter for my opinions on sports.
Oh, well, unless you're coming to me.
Right. I would want them to be curious. Well, I wouldn't go to you either. You don't, you got terrible Sixers opinions.
Says the guy
I'm trying to keep Brett Brown and trade Joel Embiid. I'm trying to make this team better.
Says the guy who's getting smoked in the bet and think Al Horford is the answer.
I don't know, man. All Horford does is win.
I wasn't sure if there was a part of Twitter that was like legitimately not anti-LeBron, because there's plenty of anti-LeBron, but like, hey, this guy's not good anymore.
Yeah, no, he's still one of the 5 best players on the planet.
I don't know if Father Time is ever going to catch up with him.
Yeah, I mean, he takes care of himself. Like, if Kawhi Leonard wasn't healthy, if I had to win one basketball game, I'm taking LeBron James.
Would you?
Like, if this is game 7 and I get to draft my team, I'm taking Kawhi first. Now, I think youth is helpful.
Over Trae Young?
Yes, over Trae Young. I think I would take LeBron second.
All right.
I don't know who else I would take.
I don't
think there's another answer.
No, you're not taking Doncic with like zero experience in those spots. Nope. You're not taking Giannis either.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Joel Embiid would get a stomach ache and be sick, so you can't take Joel Embiid.
No. Giannis is, I think, like, it's not Harden. I think it's got to be LeBron. I don't know who else you could possibly take.
I think you're right. Definitely Kawhi first, though.
Now, Giannis could just run straight through every single team through this playoffs, and that's going to make what I just said sound worse.
That's why you said not yet, though.
Right. But
you want to see it.
Yeah.
You just want to see
I've watched LeBron play. I mean, the J.R. Smith game against the Warriors, I've never seen anybody do more on a basketball court. He single-handedly gave them the opportunity to win that game with very little help.
What was it that J.R. Smith did, and then they made the gif of LeBron? Like
he got the rebound and like dribbled it back out.
Yes, yeah. Wow. I remember watching that in real time and having no idea what was going on.
Yes, I remember J.R. Smith playing in real time and having no idea what was going on.
Neither did he.
A man had too much Henny in the body. All right, that is not the right ticker, so let me go ahead and update that bad boy. Strategy show, Josh Engelman and Chris Spags. Nope, not correct.
Wow, okay, I see how it is.
I mean, dreams,
I
guess. Dreams.
All right.
We have 10 games to go over. So guys, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Top lineup from last night on FanDuel, and then we're going to get into it. Damian Lillard, Colin Sexton, Bradley Beal, Karis LeVert, LeBron James, Trevor Ariza, Kristaps Porzingis, Larry Nance, and Dwight Howard. Nothing crazy there to me.
No, Dwight was a lock.
Yep.
Like, usually I don't like this. It's on a 3-game slate, though. I mean, you're just playing Dwight Howard.
Yeah. And now we got to get into it. Let me see if we've got an updated ownership run yet before we get started. 14 minutes ago, FanDuel. We do indeed. Let me drop this in here, and then we'll be set. Thank you to Tom for getting that rerun for me. Appreciate it.
It's also amazing while you do this that Chalk Trevor Ariza, like 100% came through in a huge way yesterday.
Yeah, for real.
That's a rarity. I know people will be like, yeah, well, Ariza had some good games before the trade. I know, but Chalk Trevor Ariza, very rarely does that work in our favor if you're running him out there.
Very true. Not a guy you want to have. Well, I mean, like, Chalk on a 3-gamer, I guess, is a little different, but I get where you're going with this.
Oh, I'm not saying I wasn't saying not to play him. I'm saying I'm just surprised that we got that type of game from Ariza when he was extremely popular.
Agreed. You ready to do this?
Let's jump into it, baby.
Detroit Pistons, Memphis Grizzlies. Pistons 1.5-point favorites at home against the Grizz. Andre Drummond should be back. He is probable after trying to eat an avocado whole. 10-3 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DK. Mild double digits in ownership across both sites. He looks like Andre Drummond does pretty much every day. Slight pace up spot. Memphis has been better. I don't really have much that I care about. $6,900 Derrick Rose on FanDuel looks solid. It's my number 7 point guard, but you know, Reggie Jackson is back. I gave him 20 minutes. Certainly enjoyed himself in his first game back. Not seeing a ton that I want to get from the Pistons today. What about you?
No, not a ton. Yeah, Reggie Jackson was phenomenal. That'll probably be his best game of the season. Let's just be clear about that. Played 19 minutes, but Derrick Rose still got 30 minutes in. That's what I was projecting him for. Had him at 30. I'm still going to put him back at 30 today. The thing is, Tim Frazier, he's expected to play, but I don't know. He's going to get a DNP, right?
Yeah, I don't expect him to play at all. I didn't give him any minutes.
So do we get some Rose minutes alongside Jackson? I would think like a few.
I think I gave him 2.
Right. Just to get Rose up to 30.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did. And then Bruce Brown is questionable, but I'm pretty sure he's leaning towards probable.
Yeah.
Dwayne Casey expects him to play. So it just makes it kind of difficult. And there's a lot of mid-range talent on this slate across all positions, where on DraftKings, you have a lot of roster flexibility. You can kind of do what you want. Like, I think Derrick Rose, as you mentioned, at 6,900 on FanDuel is fine. 7,600, it's definitely more difficult to get there, especially given we don't know what his minutes upside or his minutes ceiling looks like now that Reggie Jackson is back. You know, could Rose, I'm still projecting him for 30, but like, is that his cap right now that Reggie Jackson is returning? Can we not get more than that from him? I don't know the answer to that. I think Rose is fine on FanDuel. DraftKings, it's just a little bit too rich for my blood. Andre Drummond, however, and by the way, there are some great top-tier centers today. We'll get to all of them. But Andre Drummond, probable. It seems like they're doing the same reporting as Jim Boylan in Chicago, and it's super annoying. But anyway, I like Andre Drummond quite a bit here, actually.
Okay.
Joe Val's a good defender, a good player overall, and defensively, you know, he's average. But Andre Drummond at 9,500 on DraftKings to me is just really, really appealing. And the minutes are weird. He's not getting that same consistent 36 plus every day. But if I'm putting them in for 35, I imagine in this spot, in a game that probably has the highest total the Pistons have played all year, 230 with a 115.8 implied total, I'd imagine Andre Drummond is someone I get to a decent amount of.
So here's my question for you. Nikola Jokic is 9,700. Would you rather have Drummond or Jokic?
On DraftKings?
Yeah.
I would probably still rather have Drummond, but I like both of them.
Okay.
On FanDuel, it's entirely different because Towns is 9,800 and Drummond is 10-3. So entirely different conversation.
For
also,
sure.
I think DeAndre Ayton is underpriced on FanDuel. We'll get to those guys.
Yeah. I prefer Jokic to Drummond there at like the exact same salary on DK. That pace up spot against the Pels is massive for Denver. So I've got a slight nod there, but I mean,
sure.
Again, also, it's Andre Drummond. Like, you're not He's never out of play, ever.
Right. And it's also a significant pace up spot for the Pistons as well. I mean, very significant pace up spot. Last I looked, and I'll just pull this up now and then we can move on. Last I looked, the Memphis Grizzlies, third in pace over the last 30 days. The Detroit Pistons over that span are 17th, but there's a pretty big gap in pace between those. So yeah. I like the difference there. And Pistons defensively have played pretty poorly as well.
Yes, they have.
I'm sorry, but Pistons defensively, we'll get to that in a second. But more so, I just think that this is one of those back and forth games that stays competitive, two poor defenses, and pace up spot.
Well, let's slide over to Memphis right now. No one on the Grizzlies on both FanDuel and DraftKings is projected for north of 10%. Everybody is in single digits. I don't mind Ja. He ranks 29th for me on DK. Dylan Brooks ranks 16th. There's not a ton of value on the slate as of yet, but I kind of agree with the public ownership right now. Nobody that I'm going to be going crazy. No like core plays coming out of Memphis. I'll have some volume to a couple guys, but I wouldn't say that anything in this game is going to be near the top of my exposure. No one in this game made my contenders today. No one in the top 10.
Real okay. I could see that. There's 10 games. I mean, that's not a huge surprise.
I just wanted to plug the video.
Good video, by the way. You guys should check that out.
Much obliged.
Contenders, TEN capitalized. Get it? 10 of them. Very sneaky guy over here.
I didn't come up with that, actually. That wasn't
what's
me.
Up?
That wasn't me. That was Graphics Jake.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Yeah, I was like, that'll work.
Valanciunas is always interesting to me. And he's like the one guy I think you could make an argument for, but it's tough because on FanDuel, where you can only play one center, there are a ton of guys I'd rather get to above Joe Val that can play more minutes than Jonas Valanciunas and are locked into more minutes than he is. That's the problem here. You know, last game ended up, losing by 24 points. So he played 26 minutes, and then 21 the game before that because it was a weird matchup spot in the front court. Then 32, 28, 29, 30. I really don't know what to project from. I'm giving him 29. I wouldn't be surprised if he played 32 against Drummond, right? That's the thing. The minutes upside for Joe Val here is significant. It's absolutely big. But it's tough for me to prioritize him over the rest of these guys. I do think, though, that the minutes upside in this spot, again, is really a drawing. It pulls me in a little bit, but I don't know if it's enough.
Okay. Marcus in YouTube chat says Josh should do a show called Chicken Tenders, giving a list of 10 guys to fade. I should just do a show where I eat 10 chicken tenders.
I would do that with dude. Chicken tenders are delicious.
We got a spot.
But you don't do honey mustard, which is a travesty.
No, so we got a spot here in town where it is my jam. It's just a perfect combination of chicken and breading. Like it's the right crunch. Not too much of either. I get them tossed in their habanero wing sauce. Oh boy!
Oh, I would do that for sure. But I'm not big on mixing it. Like, give me my wings, or give me my chicken tenders, barbecue sauce or honey mustard, either or. Pretty satisfied with that.
They toss them in the habanero sauce, and then they go on top of your fries. So some of the fries soak up some of the habanero chicken juice.
You strike me as a boneless wings guy.
Oh no, I love wings. I mean, obviously, I will eat any sort of fried food dipped in sauce. I'm not going to be stingy about it, but no, I'm very much a wings guy.
I got one of those air fryers the other day. I got to test that thing out. Okay. I've heard not nearly as unhealthy, but still gives it a nice little crisp. I'll report back. Pretty excited.
Let me know. Keep me posted. Anything else for Pistons Memphis Grizzlies?
Nah, mostly Drummond on DraftKings. I think outside of that, there's really not a lot. And I don't want to hang up on this, but there is a 230 total. It is this game should definitely feature a ton of scoring and a pretty fast pace. It's just really tough to prioritize these guys.
Right. I expect to have, let me switch back to it here quick. like I have 5 guys in my player pool from the Grizzlies. I only have Drummond on DraftKings, but I expect to rotate through a bunch of the Grizz. I mean, Detroit's defense is bad. I'll have Morant, Joval, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, maybe a little Jay Crowder. I just don't have anybody that I could say like this is a core piece of my day.
Right. I'm with you. By the way, we had a fantastic question from YouTube chat. DA24, serious question. Ranch or blue cheese on wings? Blue cheese, not close. Not even close.
So 2-part answer for me.
I'm not a ranch guy at all.
I'm a ranch guy.
Okay.
I want ranch unless the blue cheese is like house made.
The blue cheese has to have chunks in it. It can't be blue cheese dressing. That's garbage.
Right. Like if my choices are Kraft ranch and Kraft blue cheese, like that's the kind of spot that I'm in, I want the ranch because it's just going to taste better. But if they're like mashing up actual blue cheese and making blue cheese,
it's delicious. With the crumbles in there and everything. Oh
100% blue cheese.
You pull that big chunk of blue cheese out on the wing. Oh man,
pop that bad boy right in your mouth too. I get in there.
Good.
I love it. Orlando Magic, Boston Celtics. I had this as a pick'em. I think you told me that Orlando is now a 1-point dog, but close enough either way. 8,500 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DK for Vooch. He is in double digits on DK, not on FanDuel. Gordon around 15% on both. Evan Fournier got to 12% on DK. Again, this is going to be filler for me. I have Vooch and Gordon and Fournier all ranked, but nothing crazy. Where their ownership is coming in is where I feel like they should be. These are 10% guys on a 10-game slate. Nobody standing out. Difficult matchup. 2 teams that are a bit more focused defensively. If I had to pick anything here, it's probably $39 for Vooch on Yahoo, but ultimately, I can't give like a really strong recommendation for anything from Orlando.
No, me neither. Lowest total on the slate. And I always try and preface this with, that doesn't mean we won't like these games sometimes. It doesn't mean they won't be interesting, but I think there's a very good reason that this game is not expected to feature a ton of points. There's really nothing for me from Orlando that I like that much. And one of the reasons for that is if you look at players and then comparatively take a look at players priced around them at the same positions, you're just going to, in my opinion at least, you're just going to come up with players in better spots at pretty comparable price points. Like on DraftKings, I'd personally rather have DeAndre Ayton over Nikola Vucevic, Ayton against the Spurs at $100 increase.
Let me look at it here. Just want to see how big I have the gap. I actually have Vooch.
And I think that's reasonable.
But I don't really like either one of them with any sort of like. Vooch is ranked 48th for me, so it's not as if I'm like, there's this big gap. I'm just generally disinterested in both guys.
Right. No, and I hear you on that. I have them very, very close. Like I'm talking about separated by about a point. But
okay.
I really like this spot for Ayton, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
I just am always willing to take the extra minutes when they're there, and I think there's a significant amount of additional minutes available for a guy like DeAndre Ayton in a close game.
On the Boston side, little bit to talk about, I guess.
We don't have the news. Yeah, it's tough.
Jaylen Brown, questionable ankle sprain. We'll know after shoot around. Jason Tatum, questionable. Enes Kanter is out, which we do know, which is good to know, I guess. Makes Daniel Tice more appealing, but only Gordon Hayward on FanDuel is in double digits in ownership. I think that these guys are getting a little bit underrepresented, but ultimately, Orlando's good on D. This is the game with, I'm assuming, the lowest total of the slate, or at least somewhere about.
I already mentioned it's the lowest of the slate. Yeah.
Okay. When I look at it, like I have them both separated, so like I have both scores on top of each other, and then I see like Knicks and Raptors at 104 and 111.
Right.
I'm like, all right, that's in the same ballpark. Either way, it's not a great DFS game. If Kemba or Jaylen Brown happen, or if Tatum or Jaylen Brown happen to be out, then you start to get into like, okay, these Celtics guys can look a little bit better. There's just a little bit more to go around. again, it's just going to be like, okay, I'll have a little bit of Jason Tatum if he's in. I'll have a little bit of Jaylen Brown. I think Gordon Hayward's fine on FanDuel. I thought that I would get to more Daniel Tice, but his price is high enough that I don't think that it's like any great shakes. I'd rather just ignore this game entirely.
For me, it depends entirely on injuries, but when you look at Daniel Tice and you look at, for example, like there's a game where on the 16th, right, where Cantor only played 15 and a half minutes. So you look at Daniel Tice and you say, all right, well, did he play the rest of those minutes? No, because Brad Stevens really refuses to do that. You had Grant Williams come in and fill up those minutes that Tice and Cantor weren't on the floor. The reason I mention this is while I do expect Tice to see some additional run, it's really tough to say how much of those minutes he's going to get, right?
Right.
You can pretty confidently say that Brad Stevens has no interest in running out Tice or Cantor, depending on who's healthy, for like serious extended minutes when the other is sidelined. So I don't know, what, 28 minutes for Tice?
I gave him 26.
That's the thing, right? Like 28 seems almost a little bit high. Now he's played, look at his last 6 games. He has a 27 in there, a 28 and a 29. So it's not like he can't get those minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be projecting him for 30, but I'll probably, after a little bit more research here, come in around 27, 28 minutes, which is okay. But also you're not getting him at like a significant discount on DraftKings. You're paying $5,300 for a guy that's, averaging a fantasy point per minute. Not bad, but also in a pretty grueling matchup against the slow-paced Magic team. So you don't get really any relief there. And he's power forward on FanDuel, which is fine. He's 4,900. If I had to play him somewhere, it would be on FanDuel. I have no interest in taking up a center spot at 5,300 on DraftKings. And then the rest of these guys, Josh, I'm just waiting on what we get as far as injury news goes. As far as I know, Tatum is legitimately questionable right now, and Jaylen Brown, is also legitimately questionable. I'm assuming you have them in, but if they're out, Gordon Hayward becomes one of the best plays on the slate.
Yeah, I have them both in for right now, but as we start lopping those guys off, you start greatly increasing the scope that you want Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Marcus Smart. Yeah, look, if Tice gets to 28 minutes, he's probably more valuable to me. I probably need to take a closer look at his minutes as we get there, but I won't do that until we get more of their news. Like I gave Poirier 10 minutes. Grant Williams could pick up a couple extra. I don't think they're particularly concerned with just being like, all right, well, we don't have Enes Kanter, so Daniel, you need to play 36. Like
it's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I can only give him so much of a bump.
Grant Williams is getting a decent amount of backup center run in these type of situations. And by a decent amount, I'm not saying 20 minutes, but you don't need that to take away from Daniel Tice. That's the problem.
This is the perfect opportunity to like get another look at Vincent Poirier before they trade him in 2 weeks.
Yep, for sure. Trade him, huh? You think he's a legitimate trade candidate?
They don't have a lot of salary filler for trades, so if they do anything, he probably has to be in. I'm pretty sure that he has like no guaranteed money.
He's a throwaway.
I don't think he has any guaranteed money or anything for next year. I don't know. Stay tuned for the trade deadline preview from or trade deadline show from me and Fast City Fear. New York Knicks, Toronto Raptors. Raptors 7.5 point favorites in New York. Knicks lowest implied total on the slate. Man, the Knicks stink. Unfortunately, Elfrid Payton made my contenders. We're going to get into that in a second. Let's start on...
Did he really?
He
Top
did.
10, huh?
Yeah, so we'll start here. I guess let's just start with him. He's 5,700 on FanDuel. He's 5,500 on DraftKings. I got him in for 29 minutes. He's like a point per minute guy. It's really rare for us to see guys priced lower than their FanDuel price on DK. That's just a really nice DraftKings price. I don't even mind him on Fantasy Draft or Yahoo, but DK is the spot that I'm looking to get to Elfrid Payton. With the minimal amount of value on the slate right now, I'm seeing, a concentration to the mid-tier, more balanced builds. As news comes out, you get more and more stars and scrubby. So morning is always going to be a little bit more balanced. You're going to see guys climb into the top of my list that are in that 5 and 6K range. Looks a little bit different as we get closer to lock. Tune in to Live Before Lock tonight, where I could update you guys on where everybody stands. But Peyton's the guy that I'm looking at here. He's at 14% ownership. Marcus Morris is around 20 on both sites. Julius Randle is in the teens. Reggie Bullock is at 14 on DraftKings. I kind of get it, but oh boy, is it not fun taking guys against Toronto when those guys are on the New York Knicks?
Yeah, get this. 93% of spread bets are coming in on Toronto at -7.5. 93%.
I think that line's going to move.
I mean, that's a lot. That 93%, Josh, that's pretty wild.
It's very wild. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, but this isn't 93% of people saying they think Toronto is going to win. It's laying the points on Toronto at 7.5. I get it. I certainly understand it. I guess we'll start with the Knicks and Elfrid Payton, like you said. I took a long look at him on the Early Bird podcast with Dan Strafford, and I kind of came to the conclusion personally that I just don't know what type of, and I'm probably wording this poorly, but maybe you can clean up my mess.
I always do.
You're pretty articulate. I just once in a while trip up, with Elfrid Payton, I just don't know. The reason I say, like, I want to say I don't know if the ceiling is there. The ceiling's always there, right? Because we have a ceiling. It's just it's just the likelihood that they're actually going to hit it from matchup to matchup. In a spot like this, where Elfrid Payton already has been, mildly productive recently, it's so tough for me to look at this price and be like, yeah, I trust him to get me anything above 30 fantasy points against Toronto. It's a really ugly matchup.
So I have him projected for 30 fantasy points in this matchup.
And I think that's somewhat reasonable. I just don't. Well, actually, I don't. Not based on what I'm saying here. I don't know. It's a brutal spot for him. Like, it is a miserable spot.
It is. I don't disagree.
I think you get like 6 turnovers.
Certainly possible.
I mentioned it.
Not as awful on DraftKings where they're only a half point.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not. It's, to me, if is Elfrid, what did you say his ownership was at?
14.
On a 10 gamer, I mean, I still think that's too high. I'm probably off the Elfrid Payton train.
Okay. Well, apparently Laffy doesn't like money, but if you guys do, feel free to take my advice. Do you like anything else from the Knicks? Randall, Morris, Bullock, all guys in double digits.
I just think with Payton, you're not. So, like, what is the likelihood that not playing Payton hurts you?
To me, I think it could be high.
Really?
Hold on. So we're talking about this in 2 separate ways. Do I think that Elfrid Payton is going to look as good as he does to me now in 8 hours? No.
I hear you. No, look, I get it.
But for right now, I have the target score for him at 38. That's like 8 points higher than I have him projected. To me, that's a very reasonable outcome.
And some of what I'm saying is anecdotal, so it's still early in the day, like you said. But it feels like the likelihood that he hurts you is higher than the likelihood that he helps you against Toronto. That's all I'm saying.
It's certainly not fun to take him. Like, I don't want to talk about it.
Listen, we hit on Colin Sexton yesterday, and we were riding that play pretty hard. So I don't know. Maybe you can follow it up here with another strong showing with the Elf.
I hope so. That's the plan, at least. What do you want to do with the rest of these guys from the Knicks? Randall Morris, and Bullock are all in double digits in ownership.
I know, and I'm not there, dude. Like, I think this game ends up being a blowout. I don't base my opinions on that, but I'll at least take it into consideration when we're talking about it. But that's not enough to really sway my decision. It's the fact that the New York Knicks are, in many cases, a incompetent team. I know they've played better since Fizdale is gone, but they're still a bottom. Where is it? They're still bottom 5 over the last 30 days. Bottom 5 in offensive rating. Their pace is right around the middle of the league. I think 14th or 15th. So that's fine. But Toronto's just a really good team when they're healthy. I think they make this a pretty miserable experience for the Knicks. And the big thing for me is, could they have some good games? Sure. I just don't like. I don't look at any of these guys and say, man, fading them could really burn me up today against Toronto, especially given that they're all actually getting ownership.
I would much rather have no Julius Randle, Marcus Morris, or Reggie Bullock if they're in the teens.
And they all are. Maybe that changes, but I don't know. Are they really like, I know Morris has played pretty decent basketball, but is he really that good of a value to where we're getting him at that price on a 10-game slate? I don't see it, man.
I like, he's 24% owned on FanDuel. I think that is way too high, but he makes way more sense on FanDuel than he does on DraftKings.
Oh, agreed. And look, I may be taking the wrong approach here, but it just seems like, and I've been burned by the Knicks a lot. Again, doesn't affect my decision making, but just kind of goes to what I'm saying. The floor on these guys, unlike all of them, is just so low. To throw them into a spot against Toronto just has me a lot less confident than I already was.
The weird thing is, I don't really have any interest in the Raptors either.
Yeah. Well, they're healthy now, man. It's so tough, right? Because the ball is just, there's a lot of mouths to feed on this Raptors team.
Siakam's at 19% on FanDuel. That's totally position based.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is getting ownership.
Small forward, by the way, for anyone that's wondering.
Yeah, 6% owned Lowry is the highest on DraftKings. I actually like that more than 6%, but at the same time, like, that's it. Nobody else is picking up any ownership. I have a really hard time recommending, like, what the hell is his name? Pat McCaw is out. That should change nothing for anyone, but just
right.
Couldn't even think of his name. That's how much it doesn't matter.
Siakam played above 30 minutes for the first time since returning, but that was against the Sixers in a game where, they made a late push and he stayed on the floor a lot.
Don't get me started on that late push, man. Ben Simmons had a ton of them, came out of the gates firing. I was like, nice. Sixers are going to get a damn road win against the Raptors. This is perfect. And then Simmons packed it in for the fourth quarter, and we got the L.
I took the under on every prop bet for Simmons that was available on DK Sportsbook. Literally everyone, just down the board. It's a brutal spot for him. And at first I was like, oh shit, here comes the first ever good Ben Simmons game against teams that make his life miserable in the paint and force turnovers. And then he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. But look, I get why you would have, his price was reasonable. That's besides the point. There are too many mouths to feed on this team right now. And I feel like, I'm assuming this game does Siakam get above 30 minutes again? Like, are we back to that? Are we back to big Siakam minutes? Are we back to huge minutes for this entire starting lineup? I don't know.
Yeah, I gave Siakam 32, Lowry 34, Van Vliet 34.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I think that's probably where I would fall as well. But Ibaka, what are we giving him? 24, 25?
I gave him 24.
Right. And then Marc Gasol, I guess, 24, 25 as well. Yeah. Splitting those center minutes.
Yeah, they're just like a wildly unappealing team here.
They really are. This game, to me, not to the public right now, but to me, I'm really not high on it at all.
Keeping it moving. Ugh. Chicago Bulls, Sacramento Kings. Bulls 2-point favorites at home against Sacramento. Zach LaVine is at 30% ownership on FanDuel. Feels pretty high. 22% on DraftKings. Feels less high, but I still don't like it. Markkanen at 12%. Satoransky at 15%. I'd say the guy I like the most out of all of that would be Satoransky, but he's ranked 23rd for me on DK. No one else in the top 40. Not super interested in the Bulls, but really don't have much interest in Chalk Zach LaVine.
That was really surprising to me with this price point. because once again, look at some players priced around him, and it's like he's just not that appealing. I don't know. It's interesting to hear that we're on the same page. I thought that we might have different opinions here.
Great
The
minds.
Kings, yeah, excuse me. The Kings are playing at an elevated pace over the last 30 days, which is, decent. Also, I think they're bottom. Yeah, they're 21st in defensive rating over that span. So they've been a more conducive team for fantasy purposes. But this price on Levine, Josh, it's just tough for me to get to. I know he's had some strong games, but like at this price, you need a lot more from Levine than he's done in most of the games he's played this season.
Yeah, I could always understand it on FanDuel just because of the way the positions work. But on DraftKings, I can't imagine having Zach LaVine in 22% of my lineups on a 10-game slate. Not at 8,800.
Nope.
I mean, that's like, I guess he's, his salary went down 200 points or $200, but he had a stretch where he was going for 50 a lot. And he needs every bit of 50 to pay that tag off. I'm not looking to pay for it.
You have to be really, really, really good. And in many respects he is, but you have to be really good for me to pay upwards of $9K. The problem here though, he has a 20% assist rate and a 7% rebound rate. That's significant when you consider, 31% usage, but Zach LaVine isn't the type of guy that is going to go out there and give you, triple double upside. When I'm paying that much for a guy, like even Bradley Beal, when he was 8,800, could run out there and give you big peripherals. He's been better at that this season. It's not there with LaVine. So, how often are you willing to pay almost $9K for a guy that is pretty damn scoring dependent?
For me, not often. I have him ranked 62nd on DraftKings. I probably wouldn't have him at all.
Right.
And we have him third in DraftKings ownership.
Third in ownership. Crazy, right?
Sometimes it's just that's all you need to do to make a pivot. It's weird. Zach LaVine almost was on the Kings. They offered him a deal in restricted free agency, and the Bulls matched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which would be really interesting for Sacramento right now with De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield and Bogdan Bogdanovic. They would have been pretty loaded at guard.
Yeah. Yeah, they still wouldn't be great, but
yeah. I thought they were going to get out of it. I forget what the deal was, like 4 for 80, 4 for 90, something really ridiculous. And I was like, oh, cool. The Bulls just got bailed out of this. Fair enough.
I guess you just put Buddy Hield at the 3. That seems like a really weird.
So this was
lineup
before Buddy Hield looked good last year. So, it's a different scope.
Oh,
of
it was
the team.
prior to that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it was before last season.
That would make sense. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you at on Satoransky? I know you said he's your most preferable over these guys, but even Satoransky, the only reason we're talking about him right now is because there's not a lot of value.
Exactly. I like him. Feels relatively safe. He's already 15% owned, so I don't find that terribly appealing. But I got him in for 28 minutes, and at 4,700, there's not a lot of places to find value. He'll be the first one to not look all that great in a couple hours.
Well, go ahead and tell me why you love Lauri Markkanen again.
I don't. He's ranked 44th.
He stinks.
He's been really, really bad.
I don't understand it.
I hate it because I really liked him last year. I thought he was really fun to watch. Is it just Chicago or is it him?
Say that again.
Is it Chicago or is it him?
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple like glaring concerns when it comes to Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
And what they are, but it's hard to put your finger on why they're there. But you look at his rebound rate. His rebounding rate's down 4% from last year. That's pretty significant when you're talking about a big that was giving us, solid double doubles. His usage rate is down 4% from last year. So both of that, you combine the two of those, and then you take into consideration he's playing 2 fewer minutes per game than he did last year. it seems like he kind of needed every minute he could get. And with the depressed usage and rebounding, he's just not been good. And I think it's about time we recognize, all of us, like Lauri Markkanen at 5,800 really isn't a bargain anymore. Yet last year he would have been, but is he really a bargain? I don't think so.
Now, this has been a really disappointing sophomore season for Markkanen.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say about the Bulls. We do have to talk in depth about the Kings, however.
Let's do it.
Let's start at the center position, because this is the biggest question mark in this game. They're getting a lot of ownership across the board. De'Aaron Fox, call it 15 to 20. Bjelica, Bogdan, Barnes, all getting into the teens. Dwayne Dedmon, 22% on FanDuel at 3,900. 27% on DraftKings at 4,600. He is the flat min on Yahoo as well. I have no idea how many minutes to give this guy. I gave him 24. He could play 14 or 34, and I have no idea what that actual number is going to be.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really unfavorable spot for Dwayne Dedmon.
Yes.
And the reason for that is, all right, let's take a look at where Dwayne Dedmon is getting minutes, where he's not getting minutes. Last game, you had Dwayne Dedmon play, was it 32? What would you say, 30?
31.1.
Against Andre Drummond and the Pistons, okay? Yes. Now you've got him going up against Chicago. Wendell Carter Jr.'s out. Daniel Gafford's out. Luke Cornett going to get some minutes at the 5. Guys like him and Cristiano Felicio getting some run at the 5, maybe marking in a little bit, who knows? The concern there is that Luke Walton just runs Bjelica at the 5 because he's been comfortable doing that for long stretches all season. I think there's a big concern here, or at least a high likelihood, that Bjelica ends up getting enough backup center minutes or enough center minutes altogether to where you've got somebody like Giles and you got somebody like Dedmon that just end up splitting, 40 combined minutes between the two and playing, 18 and 22 or 20 and 20, even 18 and 17. That to me is a big issue. Yeah, I don't think you can look at that matchup against the Pistons and Andre Drummond and try and equate any of it to tonight against Chicago.
I feel the exact same way. I started looking at it and I was like, okay, they can do anything they want to do here.
Yeah, for sure.
They played 2 games, a week and a half ago or whatever, without Rashawn Holmes and Bagley. Dedmon started that off playing 30 minutes, and they followed that up with 11. So
yeah,
I couldn't set him at 28 or 30, or he's going to be in every single lineup I create. So I tried to set him so that I get him, and that's where I'm at right now. If we hear more, like if he gets named, if we find out he's the starter officially before lock, I think that's incredibly helpful information. But for right now, I can't just say this is a no-brainer. If you knew he was getting 30 minutes, this is a no-brainer.
Oh, dude, no question about it. It's not the matchup in terms of skill and defense that concerns me. It's the matchup in, does Luke Walton have any interest in running him out there if it's not a necessity? And I feel like against Detroit, he was the best option to keep out there with Bagley and Rashawn Holmes injured.
I mean, he got a DNP 9 days ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
And not because they had to.
Right. No, it's because Luke Walton doesn't really want to play this guy unless he has to. And he clearly likes Bjelica.
Yeah. And this is a perfect spot to run out Bjelica at the 5. It's a tricky spot. Don't overexpose yourself to Dedmon unless you're incredibly confident that he plays 28 plus.
Yep.
I like Fox, 7,900 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DraftKings. I could see me getting to more of him as more value opens up throughout the day. He's been playing pretty well as of late. He would be the guy that I like most from Sacramento out of the Dedmon class. The rest of it is just sort of filler to me. I can't go too crazy on anybody. Kind of not an appealing fantasy game. Mild total. We're getting ready to get into a couple games that are just big time.
Yeah, this one I really don't have much outside of. I do think De'Aaron Fox is a pretty serviceable option here. Game expected to stay close. What do we have? A 2-point spread right now, I think.
Yes.
This game, it opened, I think, at 222 or 223. I said to Dan last night, I was very surprised by that. 221. Now it's down to 218. That, I think you would agree, sounds a lot more like it. Just not two teams that are going to really run. So De'Aaron Fox is fine, but I really don't have a ton of interest here.
Same page. Final game before we take a little bit of a break. Miami Heat, LA Clippers. Clippers 2.5-point favorites in Miami. I don't even know how we're going to talk about this one. I'm going to try to do it off the top of my head, but then I knew I would have got it wrong. Goran Dragic.
My man, look at that.
And Jimmy Butler are both questionable today.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Obviously. Kendrick Nunn, also questionable. So,
yep.
Play Bam Adebayo on FanDuel for 8,100 if you'd like. Derek Jones is 3,800 on DraftKings. He's at 10% ownership. Feel free. I can't dig in. I have Butler, Nunn, Dragic in. I have very little interest in all three of those guys if they play. If we start losing them, start bumping up the other guys. We're talking about over 100, probably 100 plus minutes of their backcourt.
Yeah. I have no idea what to make of it. I mean, look, you already mentioned it. We already know that Winslow's out.
Yes.
For a couple weeks, but with Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic both questionable to play, there's not a whole lot we can do outside of say, all right, well, who gets the minutes if they're both? If one of them's out, like if Kendrick Nunn is out, and there's the problem, like we can't just take both of them out. You got to say if this one's in and this one's out. If he's in, and it's annoying as hell. But if Kendrick Nunn is out, then Goran Dragic becomes mildly appealing depending on where he's priced. At 6K on DraftKings, I have a little bit more of a difficult time getting there. He's 49 on FanDuel. What's really interesting about this is there's a chance that Patrick Beverley sits and this matchup becomes a whole lot better for this backcourt, whereas you're going to see a lot of Kawhi Leonard on Jimmy Butler. $4,900 Dragic even if Kendrick Nunn is in, but if Kendrick Nunn is out, I think that price sub 5K on Dragic on FanDuel is really enticing.
I don't disagree at all. I actually had 12 or 13% of him on Wednesday. Similar price tag. He was basically unowned, had a hell of a game.
Big game, yeah.
I'm hoping that I can do something like that again. It was fun. Eddie and I were still talking after the Live Before Lock show, looking at FanDuel ownership, and we actually we pulled it up. I was like, oh, Dragic is 2% owned, and I have 12 or 13. We were both just like, yeah, that's a really good spot to be on in for a GPP.
No doubt.
He was propelling one of the lineups that had a shot. But yeah, there are too many question marks here. We'll definitely cover it on the deeper dive and Live Before Lock later today. But just Miami runs really tight rotations. As people start dropping off, just play the other guys. It's overly simplistic for sure, but if Kendrick Nunn sits, Tyler Hero will look a little better. Goran Dragic is going to look a lot better on FanDuel. There's a quick path.
There is. Would you play Dragic at 6K if Nunn is out on DraftKings?
I mean, he's certainly in the player pool, that's for sure. You got to figure he plays 30 minutes then, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. He played 32 against the Kings, 30 against Washington. That was an OT game, wasn't it, though? Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason, I thought it was an overtime game.
I mean, I can give you that answer if you want to.
I'm pulling it up right now. So that one was an overtime game.
They've played 2 straight overtime games.
Okay, so that's your answer then. Goran Dragic's minutes are a little bit inflated there because
I have him at 25 for today.
25. That's where I would put him if Nunn is in too. Yeah, if he's out 30 minutes, I'm with you. What about Butler?
What about Butler?
Where are you at on Butler?
Out. 63rd ranked guy on DraftKings. I can't imagine having him today.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. This feels like, again, anecdotal. I'm not high on Butler either, but this feels like one of those games where Jimmy Butler just comes in and like does everything against the Clippers at home. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, but it's not the greatest spot for him.
I'd rather have Bam $200 cheaper on DK.
I don't really like either of them that much.
But also same.
Yeah, center is just so deep on DraftKings, especially like with power forward center eligibility. There's so much there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a pace up spot, but I just don't need Miami.
Yeah, it just feels like this is one of those games where it shoots out, and I don't know. There's nothing really to that outside of these are two good basketball teams that can both score.
Lots to like on the Clips. So I've got Beverly out, Paul George out. I have Kawhi Leonard, Lou Williams, and Montrezl Harrell all ranked first at their positions on FanDuel. A little bit less, they are significantly less interesting on DraftKings. Lou Will is still very appealing to me, even at 7,400. But we have Leonard, Lou Will, and Harrell at 12, 13, and 10% ownership on FanDuel. I think I'd have like 30 or 40 of all three of those guys.
Really?
Montrezl Harrell is 6K on FanDuel. Lou Will is 6,100. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that Lou Will scores 43 fantasy points, which would hit his target in a GPP.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Kawhi being back is better for him.
You do?
When it's just one, that takes much gravity away from him.
It's literally the same argument I've been making for Wiggins and having Towns on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. You still have to total up 100% usage for a lineup. So no matter how much Kawhi is soaking up, Lou Will's still going to get the rest of it. It just stops after that.
Yeah.
Landry Shamit's going to have a 12% usage rate. JaMychal Green, Mo Harkless, Rodney Magruder. No one else is trying to shoot except for those three guys.
Right.
And their prices are criminally low.
Yeah, I'm not as high on them as you are, but on FanDuel, it's definitely a spot you'd like to get to.
Yeah, I don't have I would have probably no Montrezl Harrell on DraftKings.
Even Lou Will at 74 for me is a little bit prohibitive.
Yeah, I mean it's not great. I have him ranked 21st. It's he's clearly a part of it, but yeah, number one across the board.
Would you rather have Lou Williams at 74 or Andrew Wiggins at 7K?
Unfortunately, the answer is Andrew Wiggins, but if Lou Will is 0.3% owned and Wiggins is 25, it is for sure Lou Williams.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Is that what we have him at right now?
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow. Wiggins ownership is wild on DraftKings.
Right.
I would love for Dwayne Dedmon to stay that high.
Do me both.
And Monty Morris? What?
I'm still salty at Andrew Wiggins, so I don't know what to do there.
These ownership projections right now, if these are somewhat steady throughout the day, I don't know if I'm going to have more than one popular player on the site.
I know, it's fun, kind of. Yeah.
Until it isn't, yeah.
I cannot advocate enough for the Clippers on FanDuel. Leonard, Williams, Harrell, play them in abundance. I love them all. They're too cheap. 6K for Williams and Harrell is crazy.
I'm with you. I'm not as appealing to me, but still, I'm in your corner. I'm just slightly walking the other way.
I get it. Kawhi Leonard is $48 on Yahoo. That might be the best price of anything in this entire game.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton of interest on DraftKings, but on Yahoo, I totally like him for good reason. There's no reason he should be that cheap. There isn't.
All right.
What about 98 on FanDuel?
Love it. I mean, I like that the least of the three.
I wish he was small forward.
You and me both. Should be, kind of. But I'd rather Like, I think him and Sabonis are probably a coin flip, separated by $1,400. But if Kawhi is 12% owned, I would just rather have more Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've got Zach LaVine at 30.
Right, I know.
I'd rather just have 30 Kawhi.
It's crazy.
Guys, we're at the halfway point with at an hour 10 in. So please hit the like button. We know you guys love it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Free content today. The NBA, El Negro Loco says video is tripping. What does that mean? I'm going to just assume that that's your problem, El Negro Loco. But thank you. NBA Deep Dive, free today. I believe that is Adam. So you'll be able to check that one out, even if you're not a sub. Also doing a giveaway. Make sure I get that pulled up. Apparently, I already closed the thing that I needed. Smart move, Josh. Giveaway for today. You want to head to our Awesemo NBA Twitter account. Doing the normal, guess the most fantasy points on the NBA slate. You're going to need to retweet, like, and reply to the tweet. You're going to need to be following Awesemo_com, Awesemo NBA, and Awesemo NFL. Still trying to get that NFL account over 5,000 followers. Try to do that. From a show perspective, at noon we'll have Awesemo Odds with Ben Rasa and Jordan Frank talking some sports betting. The Deeper Dive will be back today. No Laffy. You'll get the boss man, Alex Baker, and Adam Scher. And then 6 p.m. Eastern, live before lock, the Battle of the Short Form videos, myself and Chris Spags.
Chock full of content, as always.
Never stops, man. Never stops.
Never stops.
5 more games to go. We're great at this. Business
it's terrible, isn't it?
Business is about to pick up. Minnesota Timberwolves, Houston Rockets. Rockets 5-point favorites in Minnesota. These are some of the fastest teams in the league. There's going to be possessions out the wazoo. I've got 6 guys ranked for Minnesota on DraftKings, including 2 of my top 10. We've got lots of ownership coming in here, although not to Karl Towns, who's single digits. But we've got Wiggins, mid-20s in ownership on both sites. Covington in the teens on both sites. Napier at 10. Jarrett Culver is at 10 on FanDuel, 20 on DraftKings. Talk to me now. Who stands out most to you from the Minnesota Timberwolves?
So we're just calling him Karl Towns now, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. He and I go way back.
I can see that.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll have to save my I've been anxiously waiting to ask you this scenario question. We kind of talked about it off air.
Forgot about it.
We'll do it on Monday's 6-game slate, right? But we don't have enough time to do it today. I was also going to ask you about how great. Did you see the Jarvis Landry dodgeball thing?
No.
You have to. I tweeted it. Go after the show. Everyone should go watch how unbelievably good Jarvis Landry is at dodgeball. It's insane.
Who's Jarvis Landry?
It's insane. It was a Pro Bowl thing, which they should just do that instead of the actual Pro Bowl. I think everyone would enjoy it more.
Oh, it's the NFL? I stopped paying attention to that in September.
Listen, just check it out. You'll appreciate it.
Okay.
One of Dodgeball 2, one of the greatest movies, comedies. I love that.
You can play dodgeball.
We can play Peter.
We can play dodgeball.
That's so good. ESPN the Ocho. I saw it in the Obscure Sports Quarterly. Karl Anthony Towns, I do like him today.
Yeah.
I think $9,800 on FanDuel is too cheap.
I agree.
And when you're getting him at a price point like that, it makes it pretty hard to avoid. So that's a salary thing. I talked about this with Dan on the early bird. And I really did like Andrew Wiggins. I had no idea, and this was last night's show, of course, that his ownership was going to be that high. He's $28 on Yahoo, which is again pretty interesting. On FanDuel, you've got Wiggins coming in at 68 and 7K on FanDuel or DraftKings. So nowhere is his price really egregious.
No, not at all. I have him ranked 14th on DK. And I am unfortunately a fan.
Unfortunately, he's also second in ownership on DraftKings, fourth on FanDuel, and third on Yahoo. So there is that.
Yeah.
Now,
this time it makes sense to me.
It totally makes sense. No question about it. I have zero issues with that. Karl Anthony Towns right now is hauling in only 9% ownership on FanDuel at 9,800, Drummond at 11%, Jokic at 7%. So all three of these guys, Jokic, Drummond, and Towns, your three top priced players at the position, all of whom I think you can make an argument for, are 11% or lower. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. And we still haven't gotten to the reasons why these guys are going to be low on, but I do like Towns today. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have him if he's 9% owned on FanDuel or 6%
especially
on DK.
Especially if Ayton's 22%, right? I'm sorry, Deadman.
Right. And that changes your entire lineup structure too, because if people are going cheap for the solo center by paying up to Towns, and it's not even like you're paying up all that high, but by paying up to Towns or Jokic, you're getting a unique lineup compared to 20% of the field. I'd rather have Montrezl Harrell, but I'm certainly going to be getting to Jokic and Towns.
I am too. And I think, honestly, Josh, ownership will change a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see Deadman come down throughout the day. But if Towns is coming in the single digits, I think you'd be crazy not to at least get above the field there.
Given the structure of center, for sure. We need to talk a little bit about Jarrett Culver on DK. And this is going to be, and Napier to an extent. Both of these guys were highly ranked by me, and it's a testament to the early morning. Ownership, or it lends to a more balanced build again, but I've got Culver in for 30 minutes in a pace up spot. I've got Napier in for 28 minutes. Again, pace up spot. This is a really good like scenario for DFS stats. I don't love them together, but I don't think they're being owned enough for what kind of game environment this is. What do you want to do with the rest of Minnesota? Covington, Napier, Culver.
Here's all I can say about Culver. If Culver is as popular on DraftKings as he's projecting right now, top 5, yeah, I will do everything in my power to get entirely away from this guy.
That's reasonable.
I mean, on FanDuel, Jarrett Culver is what, 52?
Yeah, $500 more expensive on FanDuel, which we don't see anymore.
Yeah, I think you and I are probably on different pages from Culver. You said you liked him, right?
4,700 on DraftKings, I think, is pretty nice.
Yeah, and obviously Jeff Teague is no longer in Minnesota. All of this is understandable. But if Culver is popular, I won't have really any issues kind of navigating away from that. But look, if we're being fair, he's what, 0.83 DraftKings point per minute guy on the season. It's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. And as I'm also assuming that some value is going to open up. If value doesn't open up, you're probably going to be forced into getting some Jarrett Culver. But
the moment it starts to open up, Napier and Culver start to go back down.
Right. If he's a top 4 or 5 owned guy, I have to think I can get different there and still not really be exposing myself to risk that much.
I agree. It's not a comfortable spot to be if everybody else.
No, but in your defense here, there aren't a lot of value spots that are comfortable at all right now.
Right. Napier, thoughts?
I mean, pretty similar thinking. Price is up to 5,300. It's not a crazy price at all. And once again, no Jeff Teague. I think he's probably going to get 30 minutes here. What are you giving him?
I gave him 28, and 28. I like him anyway. And if I gave him 30, he'd probably be my number 1 player right now.
Overall or on this game?
Overall.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a pace-up game. Or not. Yeah, it technically is, but it's the highest total on the slate. It's a 234.5.
Yeah.
5-point dogs. Like, yeah, Minnesota's just such an unappealing team outside of guys like Towns and Wiggins. There's guys that you can always get to, but man, are they a volatile basketball team outside of those two guys. And even Wiggins hasn't been that reliable. So I think you have to consider him. But man, a very popular Jarrett Culver to me. If Napier is going to be like half the ownership, just give me Napier there all day long.
That I completely agree with. And at 4,900 on FanDuel, I think Napier looks better as a whole.
Hold on a second. On the news right now, DraftKings user sues MLB over Astros signs.
Somebody just posted it in Slack. I immediately ignored
scandal.
it. Yeah, I immediately ignored it. Imagine having that much time in your life to be like, I'm going to sue somebody else that had nothing to do with it.
That's wild. No, they're suing the Major League Baseball. It's saying DraftKings user sues MLB over Astros sign stealing scandal. That's interesting.
That's like being like a Heinz ketchup user suing the potato company for French fries. What does it matter that someone was a DraftKings user because they played on that? Like, that's why. Well, who cares? A daily fantasy sports player. You don't have to. Why does DraftKings get branding in that story?
I was thinking the same thing. It should have been like daily fantasy sports player,
right? Because
that makes you'd want to give context to why they're suing. They're suing because they think they lost money because it wasn't fair.
Right. Exactly. It has nothing to do with who cares about DraftKings in that scenario?
If you're suing over that,
it should say a SuperDraft user. Go to superdraft.io, use the promo code AWESEMO and get yourself $20 in super cash.
With the deposit of $100 or more. If you are doing this, man, you're a scoundrel.
I've got a different word for it, but it's not video friendly. I got a couple of them, all not video friendly.
Don't blame you.
Houston Rockets, 10-8 for James Harden on FanDuel, 11-1 on DK. Russ, 10-4 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DK. James Harden is my favorite guy to pay up for today.
Me too. And I'm excited to hear your take on this because I went over this a lot with Dan. The gap is narrowing rapidly in terms of price point between these two guys, right?
Yep.
On FanDuel, you've got Harden and Westbrook $400 apart. On DraftKings, you've got them $700 apart. You would not expect to have seen that. On Yahoo, it's a lot more significant. You're a $10 difference. I do like Westbrook a lot there. And hey, Westbrook wasn't shooting well, but guess what? He is always getting up a ton of shots. I mean, every single game you're getting monster shot volume from Russell Westbrook. His rebounding continues to be good. Not where it was. Same with his assists, but he's a legitimate triple-double threat. And he's still averaging 25, 7, and 2 on the season with 1.5 steals. He's still been very good. But there's just no way that even with Harden playing, a little bit below what we expect from him lately, there's just no way I can pay almost the same price for Westbrook as Harden and feel good about it if I'm playing like one or two lineups.
I feel the same way. I've got him in for 38 minutes. The price is not nearly as high as you would think it would be. I mentioned in the video today, Towns being back serves two purposes. One, it makes this game more likely to be close, and two, it makes Minnesota's defense significantly worse. Both of those things are better for James Harden. He's playing at 1.5 fantasy points per minute at 38 minutes. I'm just in. I have his target score at 68. He does that in his sleep on nights where he shoots 1 of 19 from 3.
Right. Can I tell you what I find really fascinating though? Right now, Russell Westbrook on DraftKings is projected for 1% ownership.
Yeah.
Likely because, and that'll come up a bit, but probably because of how close he is to Harden and these other guys. Harden's at 15%, which really isn't that high. But given the way, sure, given the way Russell Westbrook has played lately, and he has played really, really well. I mean, his shooting and being able to get to the rim and convert those into buckets has been great. If he really is, on our last ownership run coming in at 1 or 2%, that's so tough with the type of upside that Westbrook has.
So last 30 days, Harden 1.51 fantasy points per minute. Russ 1.44.
Exactly. It's been really close. Dude, he has 70, well, I'm rounding up, 69 plus fantasy points in
Nice.
3 of his last 4.
Nice. Double nice.
Nice.
Double nice.
Very nice.
Sorry, wife's texting me. She just landed.
Good.
I was thinking about picking her up. Then I remembered that this was a 10-game slate and you and I were doing the show, and I was like, you'll be home before this is over?
You'll be on your next flight.
Yeah. Next flight's next week for her.
But the Harden Westbrook thing is definitely an interesting one, and
yeah,
Westbrook's been really good lately. He just has.
I want to have more of both of them on DraftKings. I would like to have way more of both of them on FanDuel.
I like that. Yep. I don't see myself playing them in the same lineup, especially given that there's a lot of good mid-range and like upper mid-range talent, but I would want both of them. Westbrook at that ownership is insane.
I completely agree. After that, I don't have much interest. I don't really need Clint Capella or anybody.
No, that's pretty much it for me.
Now the biggie, New Orleans Pelicans, Denver Nuggets. Pels 3.5-point favorites at home against Denver. Denver walking wounded. We'll start on the New Orleans side, where I believe everybody is back and okay. I think I'm missing anybody, right? Like, it's just there. I mean, Kenrich Williams is out, but Josh Hart, probable. JJ Redick, probable. Zion will be playing, I assume, similar minutes to last time. Not a great spot for the Pels. Should slow them down a little bit. Brandon Ingram in the teens in ownership. I think that's fine. Derek Favors in the teens in ownership. I'm not interested. I don't get the sense that I want any of the Pels with Zion there now and with everybody healthy.
I really had interest in Ingram for the past, let's say, really all season. He's been he's been spectacular, but we both had a ton of interest in Ingram with Holiday out over that 1+ week span. Now everything implodes. Not only do we have to worry about Zion, but we don't know what his minutes look like. We don't know the role of everyone going forward and how it's going to affect them. But there's no doubt, and I know, I get it. Ingram attempted 22 shots last game. The rebounding should struggle. The more he's on the floor with Zion, the more that's going to be an issue. I just don't have any confidence. And I guess you can follow this up, but you say this is the big game. I don't really know how big of a game it is on the Pelicans side. It's very difficult for me to try and make sense of this. Now, if you looked at the rotations last game, like Redick came in off the bench for Zion. Zion comes back in for Redick, and then Favors comes in for Zion. So at a point you had Zion, Josh Hart, Jackson Hayes, Alexander Walker, and Etuan Moore out there. So he's getting run with the bench. And then he got significant run with the bench again in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, that means Ingram is going to see a lot of his minutes without him. I would say most of his minutes without him. But does Williamson not close the game out like he did last game? He didn't even close last game.
He's not going to close today either.
Yeah,
he's going to play the first 4 or 5 minutes of each quarter, and that's going to be it.
It'd be smarter to bring him off the bench. You'll have him close games out.
Easier to manage getting him in and guaranteeing the run by starting each quarter.
I don't think
keeps
so.
you loose as well.
Yeah, I guess.
Look, what if there's not a stoppage in play? Then you got to use a timeout or something.
Come on, please.
What if you're trying to bring him in at the 5-minute mark of the first quarter and it doesn't stop until 2 minutes?
There's always a stoppage. You never see that shit happen.
You can see it all the time. What are you talking about?
Dude.
We know what's going to happen. Look, anybody that's playing Zion Williamson today, thank you for paying the rake. He's 6,400 on DraftKings. He should be 4K.
No, but I agree. He should not be 6,400.
Sure.
He should be 5,500.
Sure.
Here's why I say that. If he's 4,500, he's in every lineup.
Right, but that means the people are just still dumb.
Oh, really? At 4,500?
Oh, you think he's gonna go 4 for 4 from 3 again?
Yeah, right.
You might never.
you're.
Yeah, no.
I don't. You're right. I don't. But
I know I'm exaggerating 4K. I'm aware of this, but 6,400, he should be 0% owned at that salary.
Maybe he should probably be like, if I'd say 5K, so then people actually have to decide, make a legitimate decision if they want to play him or not. Yeah, I hear you. Like, either way, we're not playing him.
This is just like DeJounte Murray being at a 20-minute a game limit.
For sure.
There is no right tail to his performance because he can't play anymore. Exactly. I mean, he was playing as well as you possibly could in the fourth quarter, and they were like, no, this stops. We don't care if this makes us lose this game. So, what is the goal in that spot?
So talk to me then about where you're at here. I know that Williamson, I'm giving him 20 minutes. Okay.
Oh, I don't care about the Pelicans at all.
Okay. But like, I guess it's how much does Williamson actually affect them if he is going to start and he's only going to play 8 of his minutes with the starters?
I think it affects them in that I think that everybody's going to want him to be involved, and it changes the way that they have been playing. And then they have to just take him off the floor in 5 minutes and flip the switch back into this is what we were mode. And
it's just
their defense is going to be significantly worse with him on the floor right now.
I just don't have the answers here.
No. Well, the answer is don't play anyone from the Pelicans, I think.
Right. But I'm with you. And one of the reasons for that is I don't have the answers to what it's going to look like. We have one game and he only played 8 minutes with the starters, but still, there's no guarantee that that's going to be the case again. Do you think Lonzo is at his price point 7,100, given that he played another 39 minutes in regulation? Is there any way you can get there today?
He is not in my player pool on either FanDuel or DraftKings.
Yeah, me neither. And the reason too is Denver, not the same as they were last year, not a great team, but let's be clear about something. This is a significant pace down spot for the New Orleans Pelicans against Denver. Big time.
Yeah. I mean, Denver's like second or third slowest in the league in my model.
Yep.
Now we get to Denver. Nikola Jokic, the best offensive center in basketball. That is healthy.
The best offensive center on the Nuggets.
You're not a big Bull fan? 9,900 on FanDuel, 9,700 on DraftKings, $43 on Yahoo, where you only need to hit a 54-point target score. It's not as if Derek Favors is kind of like a not fun matchup for Jokic, but at the same time, he's going to get a steady diet of Jackson Hayes, which should go real well. 1.4 fantasy points per minute over his last 30 days. Major pace up spot for Denver. Pelicans are like the third fastest team. So Denver's gaining 4+ possessions for this game. I got Jokic in for 33 minutes. He doesn't have a Plumlee behind him. So in theory, they would like to play him, an extra minute or two more. He's too cheap and he's barely owned. I love him today. I'm going to have a lot of Nikola Jokic.
Rank Jokic, Drummond, and Towns on the 3 sides.
Jokic number 1 with a bullet on DraftKings. Not even particularly close. Then Drummond, then Towns. Both of those guys kind of a coin flip. FanDuel, Jokic, Towns, Drummond. Drummond just a little bit too expensive there. On Yahoo, Jokic, Towns, Drummond. Drummond $49, Towns $46, Jokic $43. On Fantasy Draft,
I didn't ask about Fantasy
Jokic with a bullet, slightly Towns, Drummond, but it's Jokic far and away for me today.
Okay,
this is a fantastic spot.
For me on DraftKings, I'm going Drummond, Jokic, Towns. on FanDuel, I'm going Towns, Jokic, Drummond because they're all pretty close. And then on Yahoo, I think at that price point on Jokic, you have to really like that. Jokic, Towns, Drummond. So for me, really a lot of it comes down to salary. And I love Drummond at 95 on DraftKings. I love Towns at 98 on FanDuel. And I love Jokic at 43 on Yahoo.
Love it. So good. It's not the only guy that I'm going to have a lot of here. Going back to the well. Will Barton, 6,200 on FanDuel. He's my number one small forward. We have him at 22% ownership. I'm going to have more than that. I had a lot of him Wednesday. It sucked. Didn't work out for me, but I'm going right back to it again.
Who is that, Barton?
Yeah. I like him on DraftKings too at 0 ownership, but 7,300 is a bit of a scary price tag.
Yeah. I mean, the Plum is out. Millsap is out.
Jamal Murray out.
Jamal Murray. Yeah, I was talking front court and then working my way back. But yeah, like Jeremy Grant right now, that price to me is really pretty prohibitive on DraftKings. Now it is the Pelicans, and this is a favorable spot. This is a team that allows a ton of transition scoring. Grant's 5,200 on FanDuel.
I don't mean to cut you off. Michael Porter Jr. also questionable.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that could make it that could be a splash too.
Right.
So with Will Barton, are you cool at 7,300 on DraftKings?
I'm okay with it.
62 on FanDuel is a whole, I mean, just wildly appealing.
At small forward too, which is notoriously a wasteland. So yeah, he is first by a mile at small forward. I have him 27th on DraftKings at 7,300. So, I'd probably get 10 to 15%, and we're projecting him for none. So I'd feel pretty comfortable about it, but I wouldn't want to go too far. He would need like 47 for a target score. That's a big number for Barton.
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know, man. I think it makes sense that Barton at 62 is very solid. Yeah. Grant at 52 isn't crazy. Everyone seems to be pretty cheap on FanDuel. I don't know. We still don't have news on Harris and Porter, so those are two that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, I put Harris in and I put Porter in just to get, I didn't want to be like, oh, cool. Juancho
Jason Tatum is out.
Ooh, okay. We've been on the show long enough to get news. Great. There are
we're almost
at shoot around.
People are, I think, waiting for deeper dive already. Yeah.
We might be dropping this stream. Did we rebound? We rebounded. Okay. Yeah, so I put Porter and Harris in so that I didn't find like Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez as the best values on the slate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's even more potential for Denver. Like, I like these guys with those guys in. There's potential for even more Denver value to open up in a big, big way if Porter and Harris end up out. I also still like Monty Morris, but he's already at 20% ownership, so I don't want to go too crazy.
Who did you say and who do you think gets the backup center minutes for Denver? Because Jeremy Grant directly subbed in for Jokic to close out the first and third quarter.
Yeah.
And then you had like Vanderbilt and Hernan-Gomez in there, basically one of them playing the 5.
Yeah, I have it as Jeremy Grant, totally.
Okay, but it wasn't in a lot of spots last week, at least for 7 minutes.
Yeah, I think that if it, again, a lot of this is going to depend on whether Harris and Porter are on the floor. Like, if Porter can play, I think you're more likely to see Jeremy Grant play every single minute at center. If Porter is out, I think you're more likely to see weird combos that include like Hernan-Gomez and stuff. Does that make sense?
If you think Grant's going to play all those minutes at center, then you have to be projecting him for like a good 35 minutes here.
I have Grant at 32. I have Jokic at 33. So I have Grant playing 15 minutes at center.
Okay. Grant, by the way, played 35 minutes last game with some backup center minutes and did not play the last 3 minutes because of a blowout. I actually have him at 35 today. I'm expecting a lot of minutes from Grant.
I will have him at 35 if we lose Porter.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable.
3 to go. I'm having fun, man. I don't want to stop streaming.
Hell yeah, it's
712 people. We're growing. It's great.
It's a great time, man. It's a great
Actually,
time.
we need to talk about one thing. 710 viewers right now, only 148 likes. Guys, that feels unacceptable. Please hit that thumbs up button. It helps us a ton.
It's hurtful.
Laffy and I are having some fun here. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. But let's see if we can get that like number up. It's a little too low. I don't like the ratio. Oklahoma City Thunder in a pretty tasty matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. 10-point favorites at home against Atlanta. Massive pace up spot for Oklahoma City. The biggest on the slate. Atlanta, in my model, is second overall in pace. Oklahoma City is, 18th, 19th, 20th, something like that. So big one here for OKC. Atlanta defense also really bad. We'll start on the Oklahoma City side. Gallo, 22% owned on FanDuel, 10 on DK. No one else is in double digits. I'm going to be filling out my lineup with a lot of these guys. SGA, Paul, Adams if he's in, which it looks like he would be. Schroeder. Nobody's getting any love, but like somebody from Oklahoma City is going to be good from their starting lineup today. If Gallo's just going to be chalk, I'd rather have SGA or Paul.
I'm 100%. We said the same thing on the early bird. I don't really have a lean anywhere. It simply comes down to if these guys are going overlooked against Atlanta, there's no reason you can't or no reason you shouldn't get to them.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. This matchup against the Hawks is really, really good. I mean, it is really good here.
As good as it gets.
It is. It's pretty much as good as it gets. And as of now, the ownership coming in on these guys, Gilgeous-Alexander is coming in at what? 4.9%. Dennis Schroeder at 0.7%. Chris Paul at 7%. Adams at 2%. I probably still don't get to Adams because I've said it a lot. The center position just has so much. And
agreed.
Nerlens Noel is going to be active here. So it's not even like Adams doesn't have a competent backup, which we saw with Nerlens out before. But and Gallinari is another one. I think you mentioned it. He's going to be the most popular. SGA, even at a slightly elevated price point, given his minutes and shot volume, I'm willing to get there. Yep. If he's going to be 5% owned, I'm there. Odd that did you notice he only attempted 10 shots in each of his last 2 games? Very weird, but
been playing well.
Still had big games because of the stocks and the rebounds. Yeah. His rebounding has seen a massive tick upwards lately. Not sure if it's sustainable, but the rebound chances have been there. If you go on NBA.com stats,
I think they wanted to he had a conversation. Was like, yo, I want to rebound like Russ did.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, can you just box people out for me, please?
Steve, give me them boards. I just think they're right now too low owned. I don't have a clear preference, a clear favorite, but when you're getting in a matchup against Atlanta this low of ownership, it's really tough to ignore.
I agree. I just want to have these guys. It's a perfect spot. And on a 10-game slate, if you can find guys like this at 5 to 10% ownership, all I want to do is have like 25% of them and hope for the best.
That's right.
Uh-oh. I just heard a car door, boys. Might want to go down to the door. Let's go to Atlanta. Trae Young, questionable. Thigh injury. I have him in because it doesn't help me to have him out right now. I like him at 9,400 on DraftKings if he plays.
So do I, a lot.
If he doesn't, Kevin Huerter for 4,900 on FanDuel is going to stand out pretty aggressively. I think we'll all probably go back to Jeff Teague for some sort of mental beating. I don't have a ton of interest in Atlanta. I don't really want to get to John Collins, at least not on DraftKings at 84. 7,500 on FanDuel I think is a different story, although that's probably only if Trae Young is out. Do you want anything from Atlanta?
I think if Young sits, guys like Huerter do make for interesting value plays, tournament plays, because I do think they're going to probably come in low owned on a 10-game slate, especially against OKC. Jeff Teague only 25 minutes last game. That sucked, especially given that the guys that brought them back You look at the run that they made. Jeff Teague was not out there for that entire fourth quarter. It was Brandon Goodwin that played 12 straight minutes that brought
Obviously.
them. Yeah, right. They were down 21 points at one point, man. So Kevin Huerter, I would lock him in for 35 minutes anyway. I do expect him to play better basketball most games where Trae Young is out because they still have John Collins. You have to think that he's a little bit more effective, but maybe not. I mean, Huerter without Trae Young on the court this season, 0.86 DraftKings points per minute, 22% usage. He's shooting 33%. My God. 40% EFG, 22% assist. This might be another situation where he's actually worse with Trae Young off the floor.
It doesn't shock me at all.
Right?
It really
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's not crazy.
I mean, when you know that all you have to do is try to stop John Collins, it probably gets really easy.
Right?
Kevin Huerter for 4,900 on FanDuel is going to look good one way or the other, and he's at 2% ownership.
If you get 30, you're getting like 36 minutes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll take my chances. 2 to go. Use the promo code NBA Strategy for 50% off your first week. Sorry. Flossimo Plus.
Woo. Easy there, fella.
Yeah, it used to be month. San Antonio Spurs, Phoenix Suns. Spurs 4-point favorites in Phoenix. Nope, in San Antonio. This one should be not all that interesting to talk about. I don't mind $3,500 Patty Mills on DK. He's already getting a little bit of ownership. You guys know what to do with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge at this point. Play them in like 10 to 15% of your lineups and call it a day. Hope you get it right. Aldridge is $30 on Yahoo. That is the price that I like the most of anything on the San Antonio side, but I'm not going to go wild over anything here.
The
Spurs, like, how do you do it?
DeMar DeRozan has played really well lately, but as you see the price tag continue to climb, hover around that 8K range, it's a little bit tougher to get to him. I don't know. I have a tough time writing this Spurs team off today. They are playing better basketball. Aldridge and DeRozan, a big factor here. Aldridge and DeRozan playing huge minutes, Josh, and that to me is appealing. I get it. These guys are not fun players to roster. I'm totally in agreement there, but I unfortunately feel like the 13% ownership on Aldridge and where are we at under? I think it was like 12%. Yeah,
12.
I think that's reasonable and makes sense to me against the Phoenix Suns, who, I mean, you look at how the Suns have played in terms of the pace of play. They are on the season. Where are the Suns on the season? I've had it pulled up. If you have it, feel free to blurt it. 10th on the season in pace, and 20th in the season in defense. So I don't know. I think it's kind of an appealing spot for these guys.
Yeah, like, again, you're never mad that you get shares of DeRozan and Aldridge, but they're always like 7,500 to 8,500. That, like, nothing. They play the same amount of minutes. It's just the same all the time.
Yep.
On the Phoenix side, nobody is in double digits in ownership on DraftKings. I think that's insane. I like Kelly Oubre. I like Devin Booker. I like Ricky Rubio. But on FanDuel, it's a little different. Ricky Rubio is the chalk. 39% owned on FanDuel at 5,700. He was part of the top 10 today. Has to be. I like Oubre a lot at 6,700. He's not getting a ton of love. I don't even mind getting to DeAndre Ayton for 8K. A little bit less enamored with Devin Booker, but Phoenix looks pretty tasty on FanDuel. And on DraftKings, I think they're getting a little overlooked.
How much do you like Booker on DraftKings where he's 8,700? Given what we said about Zach LaVine, what?
Nothing crazy.
Me neither. I mean, given what was said about Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, I don't I don't look at Devin Booker and say, okay, way better.
It's a coin flip
than
between those two.
Yeah, pretty much. I really like Ayton today, though, man. Like, there's nothing about this matchup that concerns me even remotely. I think the price on him, you're not getting a massive discount, but um, that's also why his ownership isn't anything egregious either. I mean, 7% on DraftKings, power forward eligibility. I love having power forward eligibility at 8,500. And the minutes for Ayton, whether it's a blowout or not, have been excellent. 13% ownership on FanDuel. Little different because you can only play one center there, and we've already voiced our enthusiasm about a few others. 10% at $36 on Yahoo. I'm pretty high on Ayton today. I think you get a big performance in 35 plus minutes.
I don't like him as much on DK, but I'm a fan on FanDuel.
I like that power forward on DraftKings because there's a lot of centers I already like, and it just kind of frees things up for me a bit.
We're about to get to the game, but I prefer Sabonis at $100 more expensive, but we'll talk about that in a second.
This is a conversation I had as well. I have Ayton marginally ahead of Sabonis.
Okay, that is where we differ, so we'll touch on that shortly. Do you have anything else you want to touch on from Phoenix?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
I also the fact that Aaron Baines is out only helps DeAndre Ayton more from a minutes perspective.
Oh yeah, no doubt there. Wife's going to get a massage. I'm not happy. I wish I could join her.
Well, we're almost done. Tell her to wait 5 minutes.
I have to produce the Awesome Odds betting show coming up at noon with Ben Rossa and Jordan Frank.
Well, good job, fellas.
Yeah. Golden Late Night Hammer. Golden State Warriors, Indiana Pacers. Pacers 5.5-point favorites in Golden State. D'Angelo Russell, low teens in ownership. I'm not all that interested, but probably have a couple shares. Alec Burks for 4,900 on FanDuel is probably the only thing I want here. Highest ranked guy I have is Burks at 34th on DK. Everybody else is in the 50s. Do you want any part of Golden State?
Not particularly, no. I think pretty much every time he plays, D'Angelo Russell at a reasonable salary is worth it.
Yep.
Let me make this point to you real quickly. D'Angelo Russell at 7,800 or Zach LaVine at 8,800. To me, that's honestly a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer.
Russell.
Right.
Yeah. Especially at half the ownership.
He's coming in at, I don't understand. This is strange to me. I mean, I know that there have been games with Draymond Green out, but I mean, seriously, look at Russell's production. He played Portland. He started off shooting like 1 for 9 and just kept gunning, finished with 27 attempts, didn't really shoot much in overtime. Like, you're just going to get big games from him pretty consistently. And you look at it, his production is no different than Zach LaVine's, outside of LaVine's one outlier, like 60-plus fantasy point game. $1,000 discount on Russell, to me, I get that it's not the easiest matchup against Indiana, but I don't think it's impossible. Russell at 7,800 on DraftKings, to me, even though they have a low total, is always going to be in play. I'm not making him a priority, but I would rather have him at $1,000 discount from LaVine for sure.
That I agree with. I just really don't want anything from Golden State. I'd rather focus a bit on the Indiana Pacers, who get to play Golden State, and they get to do it without their point guard, Malcolm Brogdon. So we get Aaron Holiday, 3,800 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. One of my favorite plays of the day. I like Miles Turner quite a bit, as per usual. 1% owned on FanDuel, 10% on DraftKings. He's my number one guy as of right now. Again, that mid-tier is massive.
I feel like go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I like Sabonis a lot. I like TJ Warren on FanDuel. I like Jeremy Lamb on DraftKings at 4,400. I just want to have a lot of Indiana because Golden State stinks.
Yeah, they're not particularly good. And with Brogdon out, it definitely helps Sabonis. Like you were saying earlier, if you were playing Sabonis over DeAndre Ayton, I have no gripe with that at all. I just like both of them a lot. The thing with the Pacers though is you take a look at the backcourt, and I feel like TJ McConnell at only $400 more than Aaron Holiday. Are we going to overlook him just to get to Aaron Holiday? Because I think that would be a pretty significant mistake here.
They have the same ownership right now.
Do they?
On FanDuel. It's 14-8 on DraftKings, so that's essentially the same. I gave Holiday 27 minutes. I gave TJ McConnell 21.
Because McConnell
I would have to narrow that.
Yeah. McConnell played 27 minutes last game, and he didn't play the final 4 minutes of a blowout. I think Nate McMillan is willing to run him for some heavier minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a much more even split going forward. I'd feel more comfortable giving McConnell around 25 minutes today.
So in the 5-game stretch in the beginning of the month, Holiday averaged 27.5 minutes with Brogdon out. TJ McConnell averaged 22. I don't really know what to do with that information other than I see it. I will keep an eye on TJ McConnell's minutes. I don't want McConnell if he picks up the ownership. I want him if he's unowned.
Yeah. I would say this, though, and this can change with Brogdon out, but the last 3 games, TJ McConnell has been seeing significantly more run than Aaron Holiday.
Absolutely.
So, does that make a difference? Sometimes it's different. A guy gets injured and, McMillan says, well, I like Holiday in this position more. And then it's totally different than if he's just playing off the bench, right? But I think it's very, very possible that McConnell plays more minutes than Holiday. I can't project him for that if Holiday starts, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it very, very close.
No, not at all. Look, I hate these guys. The last time they made this switch and TJ McConnell started, I late swapped 5 minutes before lock and lost $100,000. I want to get these guys right more than anything else. Trust me. I am not over this, and I don't want to do this again with them.
So basically, you're definitely making the wrong decision tonight, right? Just
sure I am.
Just because stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of trying to ban this person from YouTube, but they keep changing everything, and it's becoming a real pain. So thank you for being no help whatsoever. I hate most of you. It's preposterous right now. So slowly working on banning them permanently. Talk to me about the rest of Indiana. What do you want to do with Sabonis or Jeremy Lamb? Like, these guys stand out to me.
I like Sabonis a lot. Him and Ayton in that same price range. I like both of them a lot. And I mentioned McConnell 4,200 on FanDuel. I think that is a more than reasonable salary on him against this team. $13 on Yahoo. You got Aaron Holiday at $10 though, so you can do the math on that one. Jeremy Lamb, yeah, at this price, very reasonable. What's interesting though is his minutes had been down significantly. Some of that the result of a blowout. Others the fact that he just hasn't played even remotely well recently. He's played terribly, as a matter of fact. But you would assume, or you could almost guarantee that with Brogdon out, some of those backup minutes that were coming in for Lamb are going to be moved over to the point guard position, and he gets back up to around 30. If that's the case, I think there's definitely a decent amount to like here. Plus, he got in some foul trouble in a couple of these games.
I think I'm super close to banning this person. It's so exciting.
Whatever, dude. We got a couple minutes left. Hit him next time.
Yeah, but, get it. I think I got it. We'll see. Sum it up, then. Favorite plays on DraftKings for you today?
You're killing me with this, dude. There's so much. I'll say the guys that are projected for the most ownership right now, at least most of them, I would not be putting them in as my favorite plays. And a lot of it's going to come down to ownership. It has to. But, Harden at that price, I think Drummond at his price, really nice. Trae Young, if he plays, I'm not going position by position here. But, if Westbrook comes in at 1%, how do I get away from that? As I mentioned, Sabonis and DeAndre Ayton, I really like those guys. There's a few more in the mid range, but I'll just hit you with a couple value plays. There's not much value. I like. Will I have to land on Jared Culver? I hope not. Satoransky, I hope not. Aaron Holiday, it's very possible, but I'm kind of hoping not. God, I guess with Tatum out and Brown still a game time decision, we might unfortunately be looking to Boston for some of our value today.
Absolutely. FanDuel, Ricky Rubio, Aaron Holiday, top 2 point guards. Did you guys skip Bulls Kings? No, we didn't.
Not at all. Actually, we spent a ton of time on Levine and Dedmon.
Feel free to go back to that one. But yeah, Rubio and Aaron Holiday are my 2 favorite point guard options. I'd like to get to Russ if he really is just 4% owned. Shooting guard, it's going to be Lou Will, James Harden. They are going to make up the predominantly all of my exposure if I can at shooting guard, at least on FanDuel. Kevin Huerter, if Trae Young happens to be out. Small forward, Will Barton, Alec Burks, Kelly Oubre. Power forward, kind of a wasteland. Give me some Kawhi Leonard. If Michael Porter Jr. is in, I don't mind him at 5,100. Domantas Sabonis as well. And then at center, Montrezl Harrell, Miles Turner, Nikola Jokic. Get that trio. 2 hours on the dot, Lofty. Back. Feels like the good old days.
It does, and we didn't even really get off track outside of the first few minutes.
Yeah, no, it's
could have got ugly.
There's just a lot to talk about. It's that kind of slate.
Get that money, fellas. Thanks for hanging out as always. It's a long show, but worthwhile. It's fun. Get you through the morning.
Exciting. Guys, hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Notification bell. Thank you to SuperDraft for being the presenting sponsor. Go to superdraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO for $20 of super cash. Your first $100 deposit. Use the promo code NBA Strategy if you want to sign up at awesemo.com. You can get yourself 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus. Awesemo Odds betting show coming up in 25 minutes. Lofty, you are done for the day, correct?
Yeah, man. I am done.
Well, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you guys for joining us. Good luck tonight. I will be back 6 p.m. Eastern. Chris Spags. Adios, everybody. Later on.